Aloha, welcome to another episode of Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Campagna. Many people believe that education can be the silver bullet or the linchpin that can help solve problems like homelessness, drug addiction, social division, and income inequality. And in Hawaii, of all places, where our many intertwined cultures all cherish our keiki and do all we can to open doors for their successes, we assume that a high priority is placed on having a world-class educational system. But is it? On this show, we talk about the programs available to our keiki, the quality of our facilities and infrastructure, addressing deferred maintenance, increasing the number of cool rooms for our keiki and teachers, a more comprehensive curriculum approach, as well as appropriately recognizing and valuing our teachers and administrative staff. And perhaps most importantly, what life and career opportunities are we providing for our keiki to thrive today and tomorrow? On today's show, we have the opportunity to learn from Mr. Darrel Galera, who retired from the Hawaii Department of Education after more than 32 years as a public school educator. His last position was as principal of Castle High School, but most may know him for serving as principal for Moanalua High School for 13 years, from 2000 through 2013. He also served as high school social studies teacher for 10 years, a vice principal at Washington Middle, Radford High, and Moanalua High, a school principal at King Intermediate and Aiea Elementary, a state education specialist for technology, and deputy district superintendent for the Leeward Oahu District. He holds a Bachelor's of Education and Master's in Education Administration, both from the University of Hawaii. He was the chairperson for the Hawaii High School Principals Leadership Compact from 2007 to 2013, and was Hawaii's 2010 National Distinguished High School Principal of the Year. Mr. Galera is currently an education consultant with the Hawaii Center for Instructional Leadership. He also is the executive director for the Education Institute of Hawaii, a nonprofit research think tank and advocacy group for improving public education in Hawaii. I'm also excited to include a new position for Mr. Galera on the Governor's Task Force for President Obama's Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. Thank you, Mr. Galera, for joining the show.
Oh, thank you.
So quite a lot of accomplishments, I would say, and as a parent, I will start by saying thank you for all of your years of service, helping students, helping our kids. I've said many times on this show, I believe that teachers and the staff, the administrative staff, are some of the most important people in my kids' lives. And that's because they spend more time Monday through Friday during the school year. They spend more time with you than they do with me.
Right, that's true.
So again, I thank you. I thank you for all that time and all those years.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be on your show.
So tell me, so for 32 years, you were an educator. Where does that come from? What drives you? What has inspired you to be involved for so long?
Well, you know, I'm a product of the public school system. So my teachers, and, you know, just want to say a thank you today. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, so a big, huge thank you to all of our teachers. But I had teachers who inspired me, who motivated me, who believed in me, and so I ended up wanting to become a teacher, and and you know, 32 years later, here I am.
Excellent,
yeah.
Excellent. I think we all have at least one.
Yeah.
At least one teacher that reached us, or that inspired us, or made us think a little bit more, that we look back on.
Right.
And it said, you know, maybe there's one per year for some people, or if you're lucky, you know, you have that many,
right,
as well. So okay. So you're a product of public education. So that was a time, we're probably roughly the same age. That was a time when education was a little different than it is now. How would you define, or how would you describe some of those differences and where we are today from where we were back then? I don't know if that's a fair question for you, or just want to get some thoughts from you on that.
Well, I think our world is just so dynamic and so changing. I think technology and just everything related to that has just created a very, very different experience and created a lot of different needs that we have in terms of how do we meet the learning needs today of students. It's a huge, it's quite different from,
It really
when I
is.
was in elementary school. It's quite a different world now.
Yeah, it really is. A few weeks ago we had Melissa Handy and Shannon Cleary from Les Jardins,
Yes.
and we were talking specifically about technology in the classroom and technology as a tool, and trying to not have it be a thing that kids are spending too much time having to learn how to use the computer and all of the applications on the computer, Microsoft Word or any sort of these tools, but to have them just be a tool. So it's not about learning how to use it, it's about using them in order to learn the subject matter more. And it's a different approach, because I remember we had a typewriter when I was there. I remember that I was one of the first classes, because I took architectural drafting classes, so I'd learn with a pencil. And then towards the end of my high school years is when they started to introduce a computer to do this stuff. Like, oh wow, I got to be one of the people involved at the beginning. It's like, that's amazing to have to realize that we have the tools to do so much more and to create, and to know that part of being able to succeed as we go forward in life is knowing how to use the tools, knowing which tools are best for the job. Rather than worrying about only the subject matter and the tools, I already got the tools. So, from your perspective, it seems as though a lot of people can agree with that idea. It seems as though some of the private schools take that a bit more. I'm not sure of this. I guess it's a question. It seems as though some of the private schools take that sooner and begin the process of really integrating that type of technology into the classroom sooner than many, I'll put it that way, many of the public schools. Would you agree with that, or is it really just and what's the challenge? Because I think that's true, because I know my son goes to Campagna schools. He was given a laptop. And he learns, and he does his homework based on PowerPoint, and he creates his own PowerPoint, and he does all this stuff, and to him it's just a thing he uses in order to create the stuff. I'm like, well, that's exactly perfect. My daughter, the only computer she gets to is when she comes home. She's 2 years behind him, but she has no idea how to begin to think about these. So I know in that instance right there's a difference between Kamehameha schools and Ma'a'i Elementary. Love Ma'a'i Elementary, but they don't have that technology there. So I don't know. So what are some thoughts that you have? What have you? I mean, what's your experience with that, and what do you think some of the challenges are, maybe?
I think the role of technology in teaching and learning is an essential role. But it has to be used effectively, and in many places, sometimes it's used, for the glitz and the bells and the whistles and so forth. But truly, what the main focus has to be is on engaging and high expectations of teaching and learning, and no matter what the skill, no matter what the tools and the computers and the technology is, it first starts with having those high expectations. I believe that technology should take learning to just a deeper level in we should be having higher expectations for students in how to collaborate and how to produce and how to communicate and how to problem solve. And that's what the technology allows us to do, is have those higher levels of engagement and learning. And so it's not so much the technology, it's having that type of teaching and learning going on. And in places where they have the access to those tools, they need to be used that way, so it can promote even higher levels of learning. In places, if they're not able to have access to that, teachers can still, if they have the pedagogical skills, if they have the strong training that we need, they can still deliver very engaged and very thoughtful learning for all of our kids.
Yes, they can, and I agree with that. And I am one of the first ones to stand up for and support teachers. I think they do an amazing job.
Right.
I think that they don't get their due, and I think they're not always treated as the professionals that they are. That's me personally. So I have great respect for the teachers, and I know that they have many skills. Sometimes they're not always, it seems as though anyway, they're not always able to use their skills. Sometimes it's for various reasons, and I know that's one of the challenges going on, and one of the opportunities we have right now. We're going to talk a bit more about that later. So when what I hear in the conversation is that if they have access to this in the classroom, then they need to be able to use it correctly or use it to the best opportunity for the children. It's the if they have it in the classroom part. I know it costs money. I know that that's what really the primary barrier is to making sure that we have the technology, the infrastructure, everything where it needs to be, is how much is it going to cost and where does that money come from? I know that's probably the greatest barrier, and I think everyone recognizes that, but I look at it as, when can we no longer afford to kick it down the road? When can we say, you know what, I know it costs a lot of money, but we need to find a way to prioritize that so that all of our kids have the opportunity to succeed at that same level, rather than have those who are able to afford or get into this school have that, or those who happen to live geographically near this school, they have that. But everyone else, sorry, there's no money for it.
Right.
So,
well,
anyway.
You know, I want to say that it's always going to be a need to request and have more money and more funds for education, and especially public education. But I think what's might be more of a priority is to be able to allow principals and teachers in schools to be empowered to use the resources that they have. If schools, and all schools have funding sources and weighted student formula and various other budget allocations, and if they are empowered to look at their needs, and if they choose, okay, we need more technology, they should be allowed to make those decisions. If they are given, what many are calling, cookie cutter, top down, one size fits all mandates that you must purchase a certain curriculum or you must spend your money on this, then it creates, these challenges where, well, resources that could be used to purchase, if it's technology, can't be. And so, it's hard decisions that principals and teachers have to make at schools for that. But there'll always be a need. But if principals and teachers can be innovative and creative, they can be trusted and allowed to really, innovate. Many schools in many different districts have used, they bring your own technology approaches where students, and many of our students have, phones, cell phones, and smartphones that can be used to, again, promote the same type of learning that, in other places where they may provide, iPads or laptops for students. So, given the different contexts and situations of each school, if principals and schools and communities are allowed to innovate and be empowered to do that, I think we'll see some great things happen.
I agree. Obviously, that if word is there. If. So what I hear there is that isn't currently the case.
I think that's an issue. Those are one of the issues that we need to look at. We need to listen to the voices of our teachers and our principals and our communities. Yes. And I think they have lots of wisdom, lots of insights that we can surely learn from.
We need to rely on it a bit more.
We should really take full advantage of that wisdom.
Absolutely, we should. Absolutely, we should. Well, yeah, no, and I thank you for that. I think there's truth in that. I think understanding that it's a very complex issue with so many different variables that come into play, and it's not, and then depending how you want to look at it, how you measure the situation. Right. Well, as soon as you want to start to measure a situation is I think potentially where you begin a downfall, because how you measure it, is it subjective, is it objective, is it collaborative? Yes. In what way are you measuring it, and who is measuring it? I'm not a teacher. I'm a parent. I have an interest in what is going on at the schools, specifically the schools that my kids go to.
Yes.
Does that make me qualified to judge what a teacher is doing and what an administration is doing? No, it doesn't. But being able to engage in the question, being able to listen, oh, this is what you're doing and this is how you're doing it. Being able to have, you used a very important word there, the community engaged and involved in the conversation as well. I think a lot can be said for that and should be really leaned on much more. What I'll point to is there's a few schools that I'm aware of. Near Moanalua High School is Moanalua Elementary School.
Yes.
And I have actually been able to visit there, and I spoke with some of the administrators there and some of the teachers there. And that school has been able to find a way through state legislature funding, CIP funding, as well as through PTO and community, in order to upgrade their infrastructure at that school, and in order to bring in, all but 10 classrooms have air conditioners. And about a month ago, they held Tech Trek, which was a fundraiser specifically to be able to get laptop computers to their 5th graders and 6th graders. So that is a school that has a solid community base that recognizes, hey, we can do something to raise the level of this school. And that's wonderful for them, and they are a model in many ways for that, and I think that's extraordinary and spectacular. But I also know that a lot of people that live in that community can afford that, and there are other schools where that community doesn't quite have that level of affluence. So I look at that as, okay, great for them, not great for the others. Somewhere in there needs to be a better approach to that. But
and full disclosure, my wife is the principal of Moanalua Elementary.
Oh, excellent! So, I've been trying to get. She's been busy. I've been trying to get her to come have a conversation.
Yes, so. That would be great.
I think it would. I had to go through a Department of Education order for them too.
Yes.
And they said they've been communicating, trying to find a time that works. So I know it's been tough, especially this time of year. So.
But the community support.
Yes.
Is incredible, and the parents and the alumni, everyone is very proud, and that is a great example of what can happen when you have the involvement and you trust in the voices of your parents and community.
Exactly.
Very much.
Exactly. So so case in point of what you were saying, if it can come together there.
Yes.
So okay, we have to take a quick little break. So thank you again. This is Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Carl Campagna, and we'll be back in 1 minute. Thank you.
Aloha! Hello, my name is Patrick Bratton. I'm host of Global Connections here at Think Tech Hawaii. We broadcast live every Thursday at 1 p.m. We bring Hawaii to the world and the world to Hawaii, talking about international events and various things of interest to the audience. Please join me. I look forward to talking with you and having you get to meet some of my guests. Aloha.
You're watching Think Tech Hawaii, offering lifelong learning from passionate hosts and fascinating guests ready to explore and explain Hawaii's place in the 21st century. Great content for Hawaii from Think Tech.
Aloha, this is Reg Baker. I'm the host of Business in Hawaii. We air every Thursday at 2 o'clock on thinktechhawaii.com. We broadcast from the Think Tech studios in downtown Honolulu, and we talk about positive and successful companies in Hawaii. People that have been successful despite the obstacles. They all have a good story to tell. Hopefully we'll see you on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Aloha.
Welcome back to Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Carl Campagna, and today we have Mr. Darrel Galera with us, Executive Director of the Education Institute of Hawaii. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
Excellent. So tell us about the Education Institute of Hawaii. What is its mission? How long has it been around?
Well, the Education Institute of Hawaii has been here for about 2 years now. We're just getting underway. We have a great board of directors, like some of the finest educators that have been in our schools, outstanding business leaders and community leaders. And so we're guided by a great leadership group. And we also have a large advisory council that's made up of principals, teachers, others in our school system. Our belief. What we believe is that we want to be a catalyst to be part of this conversation for how can we improve public education in Hawaii. We believe in that the idea of empowerment, that schools, in order to have an excellent and first-rate school system, that we have to empower teachers, we have to empower principals and schools and communities. And it's like we had shared earlier, that it is that wisdom and the collective insights of our communities that can really help us to excel. And that if we continue to do a centralized, top-down, one-size-fits-all type of approach, we will continue to have the same type of system that we have now. So we very much believe in empowerment and in trusting and working with our communities. Not only that, we believe also we have to focus on having very, very strong leadership at our schools. We have to support and elevate our teaching profession. Like you shared, it's a complex problem and issue. And so we are very thoughtful about how to move forward with that.
Yeah, well, excellent. I know that as a parent, again, I appreciate that you're there and that you have this mission. How to achieve it, first of all, how to define it, and then how to achieve it, I guess are two of the challenges, perhaps many others. Yeah, there issues like the teachers, many amazing good teachers, but then we hear about the fact that we are, 1,500 teachers short? Okay, and then, well, why are we 1,500 teachers short? Well, a lot of people say it's because of how much we pay them. I think there's truth in that, but I wonder if there's more than that. I don't know if you have any more insight on what other challenges there may be as far as making sure we have enough teachers. Are we growing enough local teachers? Right. And how do we grow more? And how much of it is the money versus other issues having to do with, again, how we get someone to be a teacher. So I don't know if you have any insight on that or any thoughts on that.
Right, and I think this what we're seeing, that's going viral, on the internet with these stories about our teacher situation. When we step back, this has been long lasting. We've had this problem for 20, 30 or more years. This is nothing new. And so what we're hoping is we can approach this with a new vision, and I think the governor is trying to approach this with a new vision, that we have for a long time looked at some solutions that try to help here and there, but again, trying to find a long-lasting solution is key. I think it'd be helpful for us to look at places where they don't have this type of problem. and understand why that is.
Yeah, so sometimes it might actually be the number of people.
Yes.
If you have access to thousands upon thousands of more people, then the pool is larger, so therefore that's one thing. Right. I know that my niece is just recently signed a contract for a 4-year contract to be principal at a school in Chicago.
Great.
So I'm very proud of her. I was always expecting all of these wonderful things from her anyway, but she's achieved that, and she's really thrilled about that. Nice. But she went through her path. She was a teacher, and then she got herself into the administration side. And so good for her. But again, not everyone is there. I have 12 to 15 nieces and nephews. Not all of them are teachers. Right. A lot of them have other things. So again, that's why I always ask, well, what inspires you? What started you off to be a teacher? Why did that begin with? So I appreciate your answer to that, how you were inspired.
And I shared, Carl, that there are some places where they don't have this problem, and in fact, they have a different problem. They have a problem where so many people are applying to be a teacher that they have to turn people away. So it'd be helpful to understand, places like Finland, where they cannot, they have no one leaves a profession. Right. They've elevated the professions where people they aspire to be a teacher. Yes. And their whole society and their whole situation just respects teachers at a great level.
Which we should really hear as well. Yes. And that is a great example. I know that I've had several conversations about Finland and some of their rules and some of their opportunities that exist. Right. And how do we bring that here? How do we say, okay, here's an example, and how can we apply that here? And so I guess that's one of the challenges.
And they had a vision again, and they, they weren't thinking, okay, we have to do a quick fix type of solution here and recruit from the mainlanders. They said we're going to elevate the profession, and it may have taken 20 years.
Yeah.
But again, they had a vision, and now they're in this place where people are like, how did you make that happen? We kind of sometimes get into our cycles of trying to do quick fixes and quick things that we want immediate solutions. But sometimes we have to be thoughtful and look long range and think more deeply about things.
What we need in that regard is that vision, though.
Yes.
We need to understand that vision and what that vision means for us here.
Yes.
And have it be a common vision with an obvious goal that everyone, I believe, will, if it's well communicated, will get behind. Because everyone I talk to, they all want quality education. They all want their kids and their nieces and nephews and aunties and uncles. Everybody wants their kids to have the best school. They all wish they can go to Puno, especially since our president went to Puno. They all want that. Well, we can't all go there. My kids can't go there. It's not going to happen. But my son gets to go to Campagna schools, so good for him. It's wonderful for him. But I look at it from, okay, how do we? Part of the vision for me would be, how do we raise the standards,
Right.
so that I'm not worried about going to Punahou or Kamehameha schools, because you know what, the public schools are right there. Because we've raised the standards, which means the teachers are getting the respect, the administration is getting the respect and the authority and the opportunity. The infrastructure has been dealt with, the deferred maintenance has been dealt with. All of these things that come together to create the package that is an educational system, the curriculum approach and all that stuff. So, but then one of the other things that I don't hear a lot about, and I want to get your thought on this, is going back to the sense of collaboration. Collaboration doesn't just mean teachers talking with each other, although it does. It doesn't just mean this school talking with the community, although it also does. I look at it as, how do we seem to operate in silos when we have opportunity to say, you know what, let's share. This school is doing really well. That's excellent. What did you do and how did you do it? So maybe we don't have to go to Finland. Maybe we can go to Montreal Elementary School.
That's right.
And we can say, you know what did you do and how did you do it? And how do we mirror that over here?
That's right.
And so we seem to exist in these silos. So on one side, we do have this centralized opportunity where, okay, there's one management entity. So that one management entity can say, here's the standards for all of you. You must hit this. Well, I don't know that they do that. And if they do that, it doesn't seem to happen. I'm not sure what the challenges are with that. I don't. If you have some insight on that, I'd love to hear it. But that seems to be one of the challenges. One of the opportunities of that is everybody should, hey, look, this is what you should all do. But then now collaborate and say, okay, the principals and the administrative staff on here need to get together with them and talk it out and figure out. Now, you were part of a collection of principals, yes?
Yes.
And part of that whole goal was a collaborative effort, right? To try to, so tell me about that, rather than me asking you a question to put you on the spot about something. Tell me about what that was and what the goal was and what you were accomplishing. Or what I've been asked to do is say, hold that for 1 minute while we take a quick break, because that was another really quick 15 minutes. And we'll be right back in this next minute. This is Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Carl Campagna, with Mr. Darrel Galera. See you in a minute.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage on the Think Tech Hawaii Digital Network. On Center Stage, every Wednesday at 2 p.m., we talk to artists of all different ilk, playwrights, novelists, poets, singers, sculptors, you name it. We've had all kinds of interesting people on, and we always talk about what they do and how they do it. And what I find most interesting, we talk about why they do what they do, the process of art, what it does for us and our humanity. I hope that you will come and join us, and maybe you'll get inspired to bring out your creative spirit as well. That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock on the Think Tech Hawaii Digital Network.
Aloha! How you doing? It's me, Angus McTech, wishing you to welcome and join us to see us on Hibachi Talk on Think Tech Hawaii. Join my co-hosts, Gordo the Tech Czar and Andrew the Security Guy, every Friday from 1300 to 1345. We look forward to seeing you. We'll talk tech and we'll have some wee bit of fun. And remember, let your wing gang free wherever you be. Aloha!
Welcome back to Think Tech Hawaii's Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. Again, I'm your host, Carl Campagna, with Mr. Darrel Galera. So we were talking about working in silos versus collaboration. So with some of the organizations and groups that you've worked with, the group of principals that you worked with, the actual name of it, what was the name of that group?
We were part of the Hawaii High School Principals Compact.
There you go. There you go. Okay,
Right.
tell us about that real quickly about what that was and what you were trying to accomplish.
Well, the high school principals decided to do a grassroots effort to organize, and so we formed an organization of all high school principals across the state, and it became our opportunity to, as you just shared, to share and network and share best practices and share leadership practices as a professional learning organization and group. So it was a powerful opportunity for us to learn from each other, which is essential. And like you said, to get away from staying in your own school and working in silos.
Yeah, being able to collaborate more with your peers.
Right.
See what you can learn.
Yes.
And then also and be challenged
Right.
as well. You know, not take things personally.
Right,
Some people
right.
will take it personally, but
Right.
be challenged. Oh, okay, I can do this better. I can do
Right.
that more. Or you know what? Just talk about the challenges. I have a hard time getting all of the students and all of the families to be engaged here.
Exactly.
What do you do to get them more engaged?
Exactly. That's
Sort of
that is the exact work that we did.
Okay, excellent. Well, I appreciate that. Is that still going on? Does that still exist?
Yes, we still it's still in existence. Mililani High School Principal Fred Murphy is
Okay.
now leading
Okay.
it's called the Principals Forum now
Okay.
for the high schools.
Real quickly, and then we're going to jump to the next topic. So that's for high schools?
It's now a high school and middle school principals.
Okay,
forum
middle
group.
school too. That's what I was
Yeah,
going middle
but
school.
not elementary.
Not
I think
elementary.
the elementary principals are wanting to have that.
I think that
to
would
just-
be a great thing,
Yes.
and I think there's an opportunity there.
Yes.
So. All right, so with that, we'll jump into this next segment, which is going to be our current president, President Obama. He was able to create an act, the Every Student Succeeds Act, which is there effectively to replace No Child Left Behind.
Yes.
As a result of that, there are opportunities that we have here at the state. And part of that is, and how that is coming together, is the governor's task force, which includes a number of people. I saw the list of, I think there's 20. There's a lot of really good, really quality and qualified people getting together to discuss what this new law means for Hawaii and for our schools. So congratulations to you and thank you again for being on that committee. Please tell us about it. Please tell us what you think is necessary and important for us to know about what you're about to try to do through this organization.
Well, the Every Student Succeeds Act is, it's a huge, I think it's a historic law. It was just, it was passed December 10th of last year. So we've gone almost 5 months since the law has been passed. And the law is a tremendous change from what was before. Congress passed this law in a landslide vote. So it's one of the few times we see Congress not being gridlocked. And it was in response to the large outcry that across the country that people had about concerns about the way the federal government, again, was mandating many things from Washington, D.C. in terms of how schools had to operate. And so Congress finally said, no more. And we're going to pass this law. We're going to end these practices that we've been doing from No Child Left Behind and continued through Race to the Top. And now we're going to make a total change and now empower states. We're going to empower districts. Instead of thinking that it has to be a one-size-fits-all and every state in the country has to be the same, they've realized that in order to get quality education, it's up to each state and the districts to decide what that is. So it's a perfect example of empowerment now coming from Washington, D.C. Senator Lamar Alexander, who's the chair of the committee and the author of the law, said, we're finally taking the handcuffs off of schools. by doing this. And now we will see innovation, ingenuity, and great things happen. And President Obama himself said, we were using cookie cutter efforts that were not working. And so we need to now change and do this. So this law is a huge, huge change from what we've been doing for the past 15 years. And now it's an opportunity for all states, including Hawaii, to move forward, to come up with a plan that we think needs to be the way to guide our public education system forward. So basically, you see a law saying that we were doing all the good things that we thought we were going to do over the past 15 years. Now, let's give it back to the states and the communities to really decide what's best for their states.
Seems to me that this is something you've been working on for a few years already.
Well, again, we've been advocating for this kind of approach to empower our communities and our schools. So it was amazing that the Congress said the same thing. We need to go and empower
Especially
our
with
schools.
the landscape, the political landscape we have
Yes.
for the last 8 years at the very least, if not more, is very divisive.
Yes.
So the fact that there's any one issue, and I'm glad it was education,
Yes.
that they were able to come together on.
Right.
Because what I say and what I have always said and what everyone will obviously agree with is our priority must be our children.
Yes.
Because our future depends on it.
That is our future.
That is our future, all
Yes.
of us.
Yeah.
And so we must make sure. And what I always think about is go to any school. Go to any school and realize that, you know what, the next Einstein, the next Mozart
Right.
might be in that school. Are we allowing them to unlock those opportunities to become that?
Right.
And that's what in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, maybe my son is, maybe my daughter is, maybe not. But you know what? Maybe their classmates are. Or maybe, you know.
Or they all are.
Or they all are. Maybe they all, hey, it's possible. But we must, we want to give them that opportunity. We want to say, look, okay, you're good at this, great. So, okay, what, has the governor's task force come together already? Have you had a meeting or two? Have you begun conversations?
Yes, so we've just formed, we have 19 members that the governor
That's
selected.
close. Okay.
Yeah, and we just had our first meeting last week to organize, and basically we got our charge, and the governor gave us his vision and his charge and our call to action for what he wants to see happen. And so it's a very short window because the states again have to submit their plan to the federal government for approval. And I would say that has to be done by the end of this school year. By December.
Oh, okay, by the end of this
calendar
year. Okay,
yeah.
by the end of calendar
I'm sorry,
year.
not
Okay.
this school year, but
Because that would make it
by
like,
this calendar
you got
year.
3 weeks, go.
Yeah. So, we have maybe, a good 6 or 7 months
Okay.
to try to do this work. But it's really important that everyone in the state is aware that there is this law, there's this opportunity,
Yeah.
because the governor wants to engage the entire state. He wants to be inclusive, and he, in the same fashion of we need to empower everyone, he wants to hear the voices from all stakeholders, bring everything together,
Yes.
because it has to be Hawaii's plan.
Yes.
It can't be, one person's plan. It has to be our plan for what we think.
Yes, I
will
think that's a
work.
great approach.
Yeah.
I think that's a great approach. So, okay, so you've had one meeting. And so basically it was everybody get to know each other. A lot of you may have known each other already,
Organizing
but
and
yeah, so
getting
you're
our
gonna have
operations together. and
little
so forth.
committees, little things you're going to put
Yes,
together to
yes.
try to figure out, okay, you're going to tackle this, I'm going to tackle that. So,
Yes.
Is there one leader?
I was selected as the chairperson, so
That's why I asked.
very.
Okay. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful.
Yes.
I've, by the way, this is the first time you and I have met, but I just
Yes.
want you to know I've heard very many wonderful things on your behalf. So again, I'm really thankful that you're here, and I'm very happy that you're in the position that you are. As far as the opportunities of what this law provides, do you have any quick set of bullet points that you know you're going to try to achieve as a group effort, or just as you individually that you want to make sure at least have a conversation about?
Well, it was inspiring that as the governor addressed this and shared his vision, basically his call to action to our team was, he said, I want you to start with a blank sheet of paper. He says, we are so unique in Hawaii and we have so many possibilities here. And we need to provide and prepare our students for this global innovation economy. He said, start with a blank sheet, and we need you to be visionary, and we need you. So it was a pretty,
Excellent.
it's a huge challenge.
Huge challenge.
Big task, but
Is it going to be, do you envision it being a major overhaul, or do you envision it being a process? I mean, it's going to be a process, I think. As you implement anything, it's going to have to necessarily be a process.
And it doesn't help if you create a plan, but you can't implement it. So
Exactly. So then,
Right.
so what are the teeth behind it? Saying,
That's
okay,
right.
you create this plan, and
Right.
then what? So you spend all this time and all this effort,
Right.
and then what?
And it has to be thoughtful, and it has to be, we have to, think first and foremost about the teachers in the classroom and the principals in the schools and the kids,
And the kids.
students, because we can't overwhelm people,
Right.
but yet we need to, the charge is to, why doesn't Hawaii have, the best education system in the country, in the nation, or beyond? So it's a big, so.
Why don't we, but then how do we
Yes.
then create that? How do we get there?
Yes.
How do we make sure that the career opportunities are available to our kids here without having them all have to leave here?
I think you were in the meeting. That's exactly what the governor said.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. I apparently agree with the governor here. I'm very happy to. And I'm very happy to help and support that effort as well in any way that I can.
We will need your help.
So one of these pieces is making sure that the community is involved. So you're
Very
going to be doing
much.
community outreach pieces. Are there
Yeah.
going to be comment
Yeah.
sessions?
The governor is organizing education summit, actually,
Okay.
where he wants to invite everyone who wants to come. So that will, we'll make sure you're there. We're hoping to organize that hopefully at the beginning of July or so very shortly.
Oh, good.
And then he plans to follow it up with a series of community town hall meetings to engage on all islands across the state. Again, a huge task of going out
Yes.
and involving everyone, but
Huge task, as well as, because then you also, because having gone through some of this in other areas, in other sectors, personally with some of the work I've done, realizing that as soon as you have public comment,
Yes.
now you need to address all of those public comments.
Yes.
And how do you address those public comments and have that be sufficient?
That's right.
And then have that
Valued
be embodied
right.
within what you're doing.
Exactly.
So huge task, huge task. So, wow, okay.
But probably once in a lifetime opportunity.
Seriously, so
for us
this
to do
is an opportunity.
This is it, yeah.
To shape what we really are going to be doing.
This is it.
I'll say this, being a little cynical, at least until the next law change, right?
Yeah, okay. All
So
right.
hopefully we get to keep this.
Yes.
Hopefully we get to create it. So okay, well I will say thank you very much once again. Unfortunately, our time has come to an end here. I have about, I don't know, 36 more questions, but perhaps at some point we can have you come back
That'd be
as
great.
well. I would love to have you back and hear more about what you're coming up with, what your whole group is really trying to pull together. And I think everyone who listens and watches this show will want to know that, as well as how to be more engaged in that conversation as well. So thank you very much, Mr. Galera, for being here. I truly appreciate that
Thank you,
opportunity.
Carl.
Look forward to being involved in everything possible. So, okay, thank you once again for joining us. This is Education Movers, Shakers, and Reformers. I'm your host, Carl Campagna. Once again, thank you to Mr. Darrel Galera for being here today. Many wonderful things on the horizon, I believe, for education, and I look forward to seeing them all. I'll say thank you to the entire staff and crew of Think Tech Hawaii, and we'll see you next week. Mahalo.
Many states are not doing it. They're just saying we're going to
Well,
comply.
it's perhaps the best approach
Yeah.
to say